hello there, family. It's been quite a week, I swear. These energies have just been crazy, off the hook, up and down, left and right. No matter where you go, it's just been all over the place, and it's been amazing. But it's also been very, you could say,
discombobulating.
Oh, but it's an honor to be able to have another show with you guys, and thank you guys so much for being part of our family, being part of, the connection, the love, the everything that you guys are to everything that is truly happening at this moment. So we do have an update with Asaya, and it is only going on for the next 3 days, and it ends on the 9th of this month. But did you want to talk about that really fast?
Yeah, so we're running a promo, and you select one of the following for free with any qualified purchase, and that's Renew 28, which is this stuff right here. Can't even hardly see it. Huh? It's amazing. Cell Performance Pack, which are the drinks, and Asaya via supplement. So I'm going to post the information so you can text or call Jay to get more information and help you to get set up if that's what you want to do.
I just posted it up on top, so you guys can either do the link and then do a contact me and somebody will contact you. Be sure to put in your phone number, or you can call Jay at that phone number that's up on top as well. So we would like to welcome back Zachery Fisher, and he is truly an amazing patriot that has been following this movement for many years, and it is just amazing with the spiritual connection that he's had and the amazing connections that he's made with a lot of the other truthers out there, and with what he's been through. It's awesome to have you part of our family. So how are you doing today, Zach?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
Doing wonderful.
The last week has been an interesting ride for sure. We been hit with serious energies that are forcing out. I think it was a combination of what's happened with Elon, with some of the Twitter files that he's released. It's forced the collective into an awakening, and it's starting to wake up some new faces. And I'm not quite sure they understand what's happening, but their demons seem to be coming out and wanting to play with people. Unfortunately, I have a tendency to drive the demons out of people, and they love to play with me. And it's coming as close as to some of our children at home. We went down recently to see my oldest. I have 2 and Sue has 3, and my oldest goes to UGA, and we went out one night with them, and she wanted to show us how she partied, and the only thing I can say is something grabbed a hold of her that night, and it was no longer my daughter that I was communicating with, and I don't know how to explain it other than the fact that my daughter sat across from me and started to smile in I don't even know how to explain it. It wasn't her, right? She was laughing at me and challenging me and staring at me, and my wife and I were looking at her, and I was like, this isn't even my daughter. But the following day, she wakes up and she doesn't remember what had happened, and it was kind of a mess. But through this, it gave me an opportunity to actually heal her, which, a lot of times when you see things like this happen, we look at it and we go, oh my God, the worst is coming out of my daughter, and you know, I don't know what to do with her, right? I use it as an opportunity because, you know, what's happening is these young kids are now, you know, she's at college and it's basically an indoctrination center, and they're teaching her that partying is the way to go. And, you know, fortunately, she's got a 4.0 student, which she thinks, I guess, that means that you're entitled to go party too, right? Which is fine. But the dark right now is really trying to latch on to those that are weak, right? We have to be very, very careful at this time. And I see it a lot with even some of the leaders of this movement, we'll call it, right? A lot of people are getting into dark headspaces, and, you know, it's painful to watch people struggle, right? But through this darkness, there's an opportunity to awaken that aspect of you that is that is healing, right? We you know, get into the dark and we can go, oh my God, this is what is triggering me, and at that point you can let it go or continue to follow the pain of it, right? I see a lot of people that are having a very hard time letting go of that pain, right? They're sitting there and they're spiraling, and they get to this dark headspace. And one thing that I like to do is when I see people that their messages or their energy has changed, I like to reach out and say, hey, how are things going? Because, you know, a lot of us that are empaths or, you know, don't have a lot of people that to relate to, or we have a tendency to keep all the darkness to ourselves without asking for help, right? And, you know, and I did that for a long time. You know, it was actually probably what created my addiction that I had. You know, my last show we talked about how I was addicted to cocaine and went to rehab. I guess it was about 17 years ago. And, you know, what had happened was my whole life I developed a habit of handling things on my own, right? I never asked for help. I never had anyone that I could rely on. My parents were absent. My dad worked, you know, 100 hours a week. My mom was not of sound mind. So a lot of my learning happened on my own, right? A lot of mistakes and a lot of lessons. And through those lessons, I developed shame, a lot of shame. And, you know, when you become shameful, you end up creating a persona for yourself, and you create a mask, right? You walk around, you pretend to be something that you're not, right? And I did an awesome job of that, man. I was a party guy, right? I was more fun than anybody you'll ever meet. I did more and did it longer than anybody, right? But through this healing process, you know, you have to get to a point where you let that go. You have to look at yourself and be 100% open and honest, right? You can't walk around and bullshit people anymore. You know, the only one you're really bullshitting is yourself. And, you know, it wasn't until I looked at myself and I called myself out for the crap that I had done that I was actually able to let it go, right? And forgive myself, right? Because we walk around and we're in shame and we're, you know, we do things that you aren't proud of, and you present that to the world as a negative thing, right? And a lot of people in this movement are, you know, addicts of some type, right? A lot of us had the ability to reach certain levels of consciousness at a young age and didn't know how to handle it. And through not being able to handle it, you know, we're getting a lot of, you know, voice talking to us, or viewing things that are startling. And, you nobody teaches you what you're doing, right? We're out there in the world trying to figure it out. And so we end up, in a dark place, and we end up utilizing oftentimes drugs and alcohol to quiet our mind.
Yeah.
And I did a very good job of it, right? And that's why a lot of people, when you talk about this ascension, let's call it, that we have to cleanse our body of the medications that we're on. I was on all types of antidepressants, and then balancing it out with stimulants like Ritalin and Vyvanse, and it was like this yo-yo effect where I was constantly up and down. And as far as I was concerned, that was creating, what somebody would call bipolar, where you're flying up and down, right? You're chasing it. In the morning, you're like, oh my God, I need to get the Vyvanse in me to get me the energy. And then it was like, oh, now I need to get this to calm me down. And it was like, but when you go to rehab, they oftentimes will diagnose you as bipolar or whatever, right? Years down the road, what I realized is that, when people are ending up in, rehabs or psychiatric facilities, a lot of times if people are having their awakening, right, they reach a state of consciousness that they can't ground themselves, and nobody's taught them how to ground themselves, so they get in a state of mania is what they want to call it. So what do? They immediately put you on prescription medicines to shut you down so that you lose that contact with God that you don't realize that you're having. And a lot of times when people go to, into these centers, you'll see a lot of them think that they're God, right? And they're figuring things out, right? But they don't want you to figure it out, so they immediately will shut you down and, put you back out into society heavily doped up, and I guess they figure that they're winning the war, right? But, right now we are at a state of the consciousness is rising, right? There's so much truth coming out right now that it's undeniable what's happened with our elections, with a lot of things, right? And you have a lot of people that don't realize what they know, right? When you go out and you start to quote unquote red pill people now, they all of a sudden start to put the pieces together a lot easier than they used to. And they're like, well, I didn't really think of it that way, right? And the problem is a lot of these people do not realize that they're actually going through an awakening, right? They're doing this willy-nilly, and things are happening to them at night. One of my other daughters Friday night called me about 1 o'clock in the morning, and she told me she was having a panic attack. And I said, well, what is it you're doing, right? What are you up to? She goes, nothing. I said, what are you thinking about? She says, absolutely nothing. I just don't know where it came from, and I don't know how to stop it, right? And it's these energies that keep pouring in, and it's like so much, but and it reminds me of when I was that kid, when we had talked in the last episode, when I was sitting in bed and I could reach the Akashic records, and it scared the bejesus out of me, right? I would sit in my bed with my blanket up over my head and make sure I didn't fall back to sleep because I was so scared I'd get back to that place that, of understanding that it was too much for me, right? So now we have a responsibility with kids that are, under us, right, to start to teach them their gifts. And it's it's something that has to happen because these kids are struggling just like I was, right? Mm-hmm. And if we don't help them, they're gonna, you have the potential of them getting into a very, very dark headspace, right? when people say that we're in a spiritual war, I'm not sure they quite understand what that necessarily means. This is a war of our consciousness, right? We're in a war that we're being attacked, right? Everything that we're seeing, whether we realize it or not, is a negative belief that's making us, our mind go into a dark, spiraling fashion, right? So recently I've been doing a lot of posts in regards to, keeping our thoughts positive and making that positive, that conscious decision that when you make you either think it or you say something out loud that's negative, that you catch yourself and then you turn that back into a positive, right? You're like, oh, well, today's going to suck. Like a lot of people wake up and that's how they start their day. Is today is going to suck. So instead of manifesting that day to suck, we need to wake up and say, today's going to be a beautiful day, right?
It's going to be an amazing day, yeah.
Or it's going to be an amazing day, or grand rising, and over time, I used to be in this negative mindset that everything sucked. It was horrible. Today was going to be hard, it didn't matter. I went into it like, oh, it's going to be a miserable experience, right? And it ends up being that way. We end up being a miserable person, right? and I was pretty damn miserable, except for when I was drinking or on drugs, and then I could be the party guy, and then I would plummet back down into, the darkness again. But, right now, more than ever, man, they're hitting us with everything. We've got these poor kids that are using TikTok out of the wazoo. And I wrote a post about this. That TikTok is got a little bit of good and a lot of bit of bad, right? There's so much in there that you don't realize that it's so much information that we're flooding ourselves, right? And we don't know what's right and wrong, or we aren't using discernment. And a lot of these kids don't even know what discernment is, right? They don't know how to do that spiritual gut check that this is right or wrong. So you're looking at these videos and it can seem harmless, right? Very harmless, but in your mind, it's doing crazy things to mess with you, right? So we're around a lot of teenagers and college kids, and we have 5 daughters, and then we have all their friends, and you see these kids, and they're on their phone, and they're literally connected to the mind hive or whatever you want to call it, and they're scrolling, and the other day I asked everybody, I said, how many hours have you been on that today? And they pull up their screen thing, and one of them was like 7 hours. And I'm like, 7 hours you've been sitting on this thing scrolling? What is it that you even learned, right? And they're learning a little bit, but they're like, well, we just look at makeup, and we're doing this, that, and the other, and I'm like, this thing is so detrimental to our society that I don't think we get it, right? Like it's warping the minds of so many young kids, and I don't think we're going to see the actual ramifications of this for quite some time, right? And China themselves they have TikTok, and they limit their kids to 45 minutes a day. And apparently what they're seeing over there is totally different than what we're seeing here. Like they're seeing educational content, and over here we're seeing things like people doing makeup and doing TikTok challenges,
people twerking and dancing and having
twerking and whatever, right? So I was reading an article the other day, and they were talking about they asked kids over there what their number one fantasy job would be. It was to be an astronaut. And here in the United States, they asked them, what's your dream job? And theirs is to be a social media influencer.
Basically saying a lazy bum that gets paid to do nothing.
Right. And, there's good in some of this, right? I mean, there's some social media influencers that are good, but, 99% of them, you're making money and you're doing stupid things, right? So at this point, we have to be very careful as a community with our minds. We have to protect these things like they are everything, right? Because we are, the spiritual war is the war for our mind. And if you allow it to get dark, you're going to be gone, right? And if you keep fighting, and every day you have to wake up and decide, I'm going to do this even though I don't want to, right? Because if you look around, everybody seems to want to give up, right? You need me?
Yep.
You waving at me or somebody else?
Oh, she was waving to somebody in the chat.
Hi, Zach. I didn't want you to feel left out.
Hello, I'm over here. So, you guys seeing something similar like that?
Oh, we're seeing a lot of stuff like that for sure, especially on the TikToks. And what's crazy is to go right back to the shame. A lot of that shame is coming from like disappointing your parents, wanting to be what your parents want you to be and not what you should be. And that's where a lot of the shame comes from, is that a lot of the parents out there are like, you should be this way and should be that way because they were brought up that certain way, instead of allowing the child to figure out who they need to be for themselves. Because that's what drew me into crystal meth, is I was told I need to be this way. Well, I'm going to be rebellious and I'm going to go into crystal meth. But
we had family members tell him that if he didn't, they didn't use these exact words, but if he didn't conform, he would get in a terrible car accident and become lame and destroy his face and everything. I mean,
Conform to what?
Conform to what they thought what he should be.
And what was that?
Religious, pious.
A God-fearing man when you can't love something that you fear.
It doesn't matter. It's the fact that people will use manipulation and control to and fear to try to get a child or someone else to conform to the way they want things. For instance, in a marriage, a wife might say, well, I'm going to leave you if you do not do such and such and such and such, or if you don't stop doing such and such. And we all have to watch those kinds of thoughts, no matter who we are, child or parent, teacher, boss, it doesn't matter. We have to watch those thoughts and make sure that we are not overstepping out of our own bounds into someone else's.
Even a child influences another child by saying, your father is a stay-at-home father and your mother is the one that's out making all the money. That is shameful. When in actuality, that's actually just as perfect as the man going out making the money and the woman staying home. It's the same thing, but nobody should be shaming or downgrading another just because it's not the same as their own parents.
Now, for our family, HVU family, I want you guys to know that these things come to me and I don't always catch them. And when I say something to my son or my husband and I realize, like, I've gotten really quick at seeing it, I'll say, I apologize. I should not have even said that. My apologies. And so I'll give it some thought and then rephrase it to always bringing it to myself, because really that's what it's about. What do we want for ourselves? What are we feeling for ourselves? When we think the external is the answer, it's not, ever. The external is never the answer. So your mama, your papa, your brother, your sister, your uncle, they don't have the answer for you. You have to go within and find it yourself. And if that means, wow, if I do that, I feel all sorts of uncomfortable and who's going to not love me anymore, who's going to reject me, who's going to say something, and then comes that, how do I deal with that? Sometimes you don't have to. Recognizing that someone is going through those phases and learning themselves, silence can be a greater response than saying anything.
Holding space, yeah.
You know, there was something that I was just going to say. Oh, the spiritual warfare that we're going through is that they are attacking our higher organ, and every being has a higher organ. And where I learned that from is this book. Nikola Tesla, he actually goes into the components of the body and says that every being has its own higher organ. For instance, us humans, our higher organ is our third eye, which is connected to our pituitary, which is also connected to our pineal gland, which is connected to our brain. A bug's, like a spider's higher organ is their touch. A bat's higher organ is their ears. Every being has its own higher organ, and when you control that higher organ, you control every other organ in the body. And
I guess some might argue that our heart is our highest organ.
That's what we would think, though. But it's not. It's actually the third eye.
Just as far as love is what's going to win all this, right?
Because what I see is what I believe. What I believe is what I could do. What I could do is where my destiny lays. So if they can control what you believe, they control everything else.
They've done a good job of it.
Yes, they have.
They continue. I mean, this is a serious movie that we're seeing play out here, and it's getting exciting.
It really is.
We've got a ways to go. I mean, I see a lot of people that want to think this is going to end tomorrow, and we just have to use discernment with all this and realize that we've got a ways to go, right? It's not going to be somebody placed back into a political office that's going to change all this, right? It's the collective has to join at some point, right? And we all decide that we want to do better, right?
Would you say that our biggest job right now for everyone here, the whole family, is to raise our frequency, raise our vibration to help in the back scenes of what everybody else is doing out there?
I mean, I think our mission right now is to heal ourselves, you know, the best that we can. And every time that we hit these energy waves that we're hitting, like the last week, you know, I had a lot of history that rose up through me, right? You know, just because I've healed myself at a pretty decent level doesn't mean that the people that I had heard around me had healed, right? So now I'm going through this process of giving them space to heal, right? And oftentimes that's at, you know, the expense of me, right? My kids, you know, have trauma, I guess, based off of having a dad that when they were younger was an addict, right? And then after my addiction, we went through a divorce and they had to live through all that. And then, you know, I had multiple failed relationships after that they had to endure as well. So there was a lot of resentment, I'd say, that now has to be healed. They see that dad is healed, and dad is now present and able to be here, right? And there's the trust issues that have to play out, and a lot of their traumas are playing out, and now I'm holding space for them and transmuting a lot of those pains that they're feeling, right? But it's such a beautiful process once you actually put your heart to it, to watch it, because now the kids their energy is changing, right? They're coming back home to family rather than many kids now are, anti-family, anti-kids, whatever, right? And this process is not just about us, right? We have to heal ourselves so that we can hold space for those around us to heal. And as this awakening keeps happening, the people that we thought were never going to wake up are going to start to wake up a bit, right? And as they wake up, they're going to realize things like, I was wrong, I treated you like crap, I did things that I probably should not have done, right? And through that, there's shame that like we had spoken about, that they're going to have to let go, right? And if we aren't forgiving, loving, and accepting of their ability to change, just like I was able to change, we're just going to keep this cyclical
cycle going,
Yeah, the cycle's just going to continue with the family, right? And the 17 movement talked about the bloodlines, right? This isn't just about the bloodlines of the elite, let's call, or whatever you want to call them. This is about our bloodlines, right? We have to heal our families, right? And the generational curses that we've had from past lives or future lives or whatever it is, right? Whatever it is in our genealogy that we keep continuing in our family bloodline has to be healed, and we have to stop it, right? And I suspect, kid, you were probably one of the ones that are here to do that for your family, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And what's kind of funny, bringing up healing thyself to heal others, is that my healing process didn't begin until she started healing herself. When she began her healing process, that began my healing process, and that's what basically got me clean.
So how'd that look?
After she came to the realization that she needed to just let me go, not like cut me off completely, but cut off the energy frequency of always being there, of always coming to my rescue.
She allowed you to hit rock bottom.
She allowed me to hit rock bottom.
Yeah, and that's the hardest thing to do with all this, right? When you're raising children, it's like you want to jump in and steal their karma, right? But this is one thing that we can talk about that's important, is that the reason why we're here is to learn lessons, right? And if as an adult, I take my lessons and look at you as a child and say, okay, I don't want you to endure these lessons that I went through, right? So you go in and you step in and you stop it, right? All you're doing is prolonging the agony, and it's going to come back around when they get older, right? And we have to, go back to that saying, hold space, right? Hold space means that you have to realize that these other people are on their own journey, right? It's not just our journey, and we're not here to make, decisions for everybody else. We have to let these people make mistakes or learn their lesson, right? So we have to allow others to live this life, right? And I see a lot of you in me, right? You're that younger kid that it wasn't until you hit that rock bottom and you realized that the one thing that you wanted most, which was love, was being taken from you, that you probably finally realized that this wasn't a good path for you, right? Your mom, was willing to take away the one thing that you died for so much, right?
The lifeline that kept me going after she cut off that energy frequency was her text messages telling me I'm making beautiful choices, even though I was still on the path of drugs. I was making beautiful choices, and she's very proud of me. And then the February 14th of 2016 was the day that I tried killing myself by injection by needle. It's called slamming of
Valentine's Day?
insulin needles. So
No,
you
that
have
was Valentine's Day?
it was Valentine's Day,
That's an interesting
right?
thing, right?
So, so I don't celebrate Valentine's Day. I celebrate my clean day.
Yeah. So you ended up in the hospital?
No, actually, I was kicked out of the house that I was staying at. I was doing drugs at, of course, and I had to walk 6 miles just to get to the train station so I can get to a different place that I was staying at. And through the 6 mile walk, it pushed out everything that I shoved into my body. And
Fortunately.
it kept me alive.
And so the next day, what did that look like?
Well, let's just say that there was a lot of, what do you call that? Night terrors and desires, but the wanting to go back was basically pushed down because of the desire to better myself, to save myself. But it was a good rough couple of months.
Did you end cold turkey or did you?
Oh, I cut it cold
Oh.
turkey.
What's that?
I cut it cold turkey.
That's what I ended up doing. You know, when I was at rehab, I saw the look in my girl's eyes, and that was it. I said, I got to be better, right? Doesn't mean I'm going to be better tomorrow, but I'm going to spend every day of my life getting better, right?
Yeah.
And that's the important thing, is that there's not like a click of the switch that we all of a sudden are healed, right? It's a many lifetime thing. We're always moving forward, right? And we have to give ourselves grace when we fall, right? And you know, I see a kid there that is here for something that's special, right? And you know that you had to go through that to be sitting in that chair right now, right?
That's true.
Because without that pain, you wouldn't have the knowledge that you have now, and the desire to help others not to be that fucked up little kid that you were. You know?
Literally.
I need to get a shirt like that, right? I don't know, call me old man or something. But, you know, we chose difficult paths to walk when we came down here, right? And most healers chose those difficult paths, and that's because I say this to my wife all the time, that you know, I think I've lived at least 1,000 lifetimes since I've been here, and I tell her all these stories about my life. She's like, "There's no way this all has happened to you, right?" And the first couple of years, she thought that I was full of it, and some of it, right? But then through meeting other people, she realized that my stories were truthful. A lot of my stories were beautiful. Many were painful, but through the painful stories is what has gotten me to the point that I'm at now, right? Where I can now relate to almost anybody that has a problem in their life, right? And through that pain that I had, I can hopefully give somebody that glimmer of hope that will direct them to a brighter future, right? And you know, it's a sad world when the people that we've trusted so much, doctors and psychiatrists and so forth, they have no clue what they're doing, right? They're here to keep you coming back. They're not here to heal you. They're not here to make you a better person. They might think that they are, but the training that they've had is not, you know. And then it also comes down to when you go into these appointments, are you willing to be open enough and honest enough to deal with your stuff, right? And I assume at some point you became honest with yourself and you said, you know, I'm a drug addict, right? And I don't want to be this.
In the beginning process, I used to say I'm an ex-drug addict, but
There's no such thing. I don't believe it.
Now I just say it's just an experience that I've been through. I don't identify myself as anything like that anymore.
So, and that's the trick that they do, right?
Yeah.
They keep you in that victim mentality where you sit there and you feel like you're an addict and you're always an addict, right? I don't think about it, right? So, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, you know, do you ever fear that you're going to relapse? And I said, no, it's not even a thought, right? It's if you sit here every day, and this is what they do, is they one day at a time, right? But at the same time, what it's doing is keeping that right in your consciousness every day. You think about, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this, right? Whereas what you need to do is heal whatever that problem is and then let it go, right? And it's sad because you see people like, oh, I'm 30 days sober, I'm 90 days sober, and yeah, that's great, you know. But what is it that you're doing to actually change those behaviors, right? And it's not an addiction, right? It's a choice, literally a choice.
There it is.
You know, do you want to be happy? Do you want to, you know, set yourself free? Do you want to be successful, right? And you know, and that's part of the problem is that in this world we relate success to money, right? And we're having a softening of the hearts happen with the world, and this is why you see so many people looking, or so many businesses looking to hire people. But what's happening is a lot of people have had a softening of hearts, and they don't want to be in the slave workforce, right? They pulled back and have I've got guest here. Hi, Sue.
Hi.
Say hi.
Say hi. Hello.
Hello.
I'm sorry to disrupt everybody. Carry on.
So where were we? I forgot. What were we just talking about? I forgot.
I don't know.
Distracted by my
It's
beauty.
okay.
Sui came in and just shined her light, and we all went
that's right.
poof.
So, you know, we need to, you know, I guess my main message here tonight is that we have to get to a point where to heal ourselves, we have to stop bullshitting ourselves, right? We have to be 100% truthful. If you hurt somebody, you need to own it, and you need to, you know, deal with it however you need to in order to let it go, right? And it's uncomfortable. And as we do this, our demons keep being forced out, and we get in these uncomfortable moments. You know, in the last week, I've been very uncomfortable with my healing, right? And a lot of it's me witnessing people around me that I had hurt or affected in a negative way that are healing, right? And I'm choosing to be an active part of that, right? Where I'm having conversations with them that aren't comfortable, right? So it forces out some of the demons that I have in me, right? That you know, the shame and whatever, right?
So there's another program that's been installed, and that one is that when we hurt someone and in our process of dealing with it, we need to approach them to correct it, as in to apologize or to admit what you did, and that's all part of the release. And that is like I said, a really huge program. Because
Right.
think about those who have passed away, and you have to deal with what had happened before they passed away. Well, I suppose, I mean, if you wanted to, you could go do a seance, but let's not do that.
Right.
The Ouija board.
Oh, God.
How about if we just deal with it within ourselves? And then just know that when we heal, there's a domino effect. It will just provide the healing for the other that was hurt.
Right.
If you're feeling really led to approach the person, that's fine. But if that's going to cause more pain, if that is going to cause you to slip up because they don't react well when you apologize, like for instance, if you go up to someone and you just share your heart and they just say, "Get the fuck out of my life," you know, that's not something that you need. So it is absolutely possible to just go within and cut the etheric cords, admit to yourself what happened, and look at every aspect that is being shown to you so that you can take ownership of that and then allow yourself to move on. I mean, that's one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself, is to not feel like you have to beat yourself over and over because you did this thing. That's part of the victim mentality.
Same thing with the words, I am sorry and I do apologize, because the I is a beginning spell tactic of creating a spell, of attaching to the situation to create it again. But when you go in and instead of saying, I am sorry for this or I apologize for that, you could say, I take ownership of my actions by taking my power back. That because every action is a power giving, right? So you take your power back by saying, I take ownership of what has happened and I understand that it's made you feel this way.
So in that whole process of healing yourself, there's a couple of things to remember, and that is that sometimes you recognize the behavior in yourself and you don't know what to do about it. And there's been plenty of times I have told my team, okay, I recognize that. I recognize that behavior in myself, and no, I don't like it. But I have no idea how to change it. So help me. And they do. And it's a journey. You know, you were saying just a few minutes ago, Zach, that it's like layers, or one day at a time, or one step at a time, moment by moment. You get revelation, you receive it, and then you move forward until you get more revelation. And so it's
The spiral.
yeah, you could look at
Lessons
it.
just keep coming, and then they retest you, and they test you again until you finally can let it go, right? It's I look at this all as a big IQ test, right? And the lessons keep coming until we figure it out. And I guess once you figure it all out, that's when you decide to transition, right? Or you hope that you figure it out in this lifetime. If not, you're going to try it again next one. I'm not trying to come back this time, though.
I ain't coming back.
We hope, right?
So remember what both you gentlemen said about the healing. When you heal yourself, others heal as well. When I was working through some of the situations that happened where I had hurt my daughter, and she did
Right.
not know I was working through those situations, nor was she in a place where I could approach her with it. So I dealt with it with myself. I recognized what was coming to me, and I cut the cords and realized that's not where I want to go or what I want to do from now on. And so as that healed, it's remarkable what happened. I would get a phone call from my daughter, and she's like, "Do you remember such and such?" And she was explaining how these revelations came to her, and she was completely healed. And she had no idea I was dealing with that. And that's the domino effect of releasing others when you heal yourself. So just know it's going to happen.
Well, it's happening for everybody, and people don't have a choice. I mean, as the light pours in, we're healing, right? And that's how we're going to get to a place that's a happy and loving place, is by letting go of all the dark programming and negative thoughts.
It's true.
Hey, kid.
Yeah.
You know that it's okay to be loved, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
So what I'm learning right now is my biggest weakness is I'm alone, I'm lonely. But the biggest relationship that I can have is the relationship with myself. And that's what I'm going through at this moment.
I mean, and loving yourself is the whole trick of this, right? Once you love yourself, nobody's ever going to walk on you, because you're not going to allow it to happen again, right? You just won't. And then once you love yourself, everybody else is going to want what you have, right? And that's happiness and self-respect. Now, you're going to trigger a lot of people, because a lot of people that have taken advantage of you will realize that they no longer can, right? Mm-hmm. So oftentimes they're going to attack or try to suck you back down into their game of narcissism, right?
Yeah. Well.
So, what's this?
Oh, go ahead.
So, it's important that you give yourself some grace, right? And you realize that, that is another program. We're going to talk about programming, is that we're supposed to love everybody else first, right? And in actuality, what we're here to do is learn to love ourselves unconditionally, right? When we mess up, it's not the end of the world, right? We mess up, we can, forgive ourselves and say, just changing it from a mistake, the word mistake, to lesson, for me, changed my life a lot, right? Like, instead of every day saying, I fucked up again, right? I said, all right, well, this is a lesson, right? And from a lesson, you learn. As long as you look at everything that you do and you go, okay, I'm not going to do that again, but how do I not do that again, right? Then you start to make these forward progressions that take you to an amazing place, right? And, so important to love yourself, right? Now, once you love yourself, you'll be able to invite people into your world and love them in a healthy way, right? They'll, love you in a healthy way.
Yeah, I like to call those.
You want to bring about that? No? You happy over there?
Yeah, I like to say every time that something negative comes into my experience, well, that was a lovely experience.
Right. It's a lesson, right? And
exactly. It's just another experience that you're going through to be able to train you into doing something different next time.
We're all here to live this experience, right?
It's pretty
It's
amazing.
a human experience, and when we're all said and done, we'll all return back to one and go back to source with all these combined lessons, and we're the collective, right?
A lot of these negative experiences that happen in our experience actually helps us to also see who our friends truly are too, and family.
For sure. And unfortunately, a lot of the people that we thought were our people are not.
Right?
Right? At least not in the state of mind that they are at this point, right? And this is what is also important is that we give these people grace too, that they too can heal, right? That we can get in this mindset that, you know, they're our enemy, right? But we have to realize that we too were once just like them, right? We were damaged, we were hurt, we were asleep, we were whatever.
I've come to the place to where I don't judge people. I used to,
Right.
but that was a long time ago. But through everything that I've been through, I've learned to become relatable. Because judgment is something of the old program. Oh, that person's doing this or this person is doing that. Well, I've done it too. Why are you judging them? You should be judging yourself.
Well, for sure. I mean, people could judge me for a lot of things that I was less than proud of, right? And doing interviews like this with you and allowing my story to be told is extremely healing, right? It puts it out into the world and nobody can use that against me anymore, right?
Secrets kill.
Yeah. So, and through my whole life, you know, going back to the shame, it was like I was a master manipulator back in the day, right? You know, I could hide anything. I could, you know, and I made sure I got what I wanted, and didn't matter who I hurt. Didn't matter, right? My relationship was with the addiction. It wasn't with anybody. It wasn't honorable, right? So we get in a tendency to start hiding, and once you start to hide, it snowballs, and everything becomes a lie in your life, right? And the only way out of that is to stop it. Stop lying. You know, just be brutally honest with yourself and everybody else, right?
It's true. Yeah, it's kind of funny. I'm an open book. Anyone can ask me any question and I'll answer it truthfully. I don't lie either. It's like lies bring in a lot of energies that really disrupt our physical flow of being able to walk the path that we need to walk. And it's hard to get to that point to where you can't lie, where you have no secrets. Everything that I've been through is out on the table.
It's gotta be, right?
Everyone knows that I've stolen over $5,000 from my parents. Most people would hide that fact. Everyone knows that I've stolen their car. It's like when you can put everything out on the table and have no secrets and have no lies, that is a very healing feeling.
It honestly is the only way that you're ever going to heal.
Exactly.
You know, and as we go through this, there is no hiding anymore, right? And that's why you're going to see people's demons, right? Because they start to get exposed, and when they get exposed, they start to react in an unkind way, let's say, right? Because all of a sudden the light is shining on their head, and they are exposed, right? But through that exposure, they're able to heal themselves, right? You've got two choices: you give up or you heal, right? And I think that we're going to see a lot of people give up at some point, right?
Well, that's why us that are open books are coming out, because if we can do it, they can do it. And it's just showing them that it's okay to put everything out on the table.
The way showers, right?
Exactly. And a lot of people are starting to do it too.
Yeah. Thank goodness. Maybe we'll get to a point where we all can live in a world that's truthful and open, right? I mean, that's the goal here, is that we, you know, can live on heaven on earth, right? Where we love one another again, and we aren't divided by classifications. And it's a hard path. You see a lot of people that say that we're close to something happening, right? That's going to change the world, a precipice, right? This precipice has to be something huge. It's not something that we're continuing in the same matrix that we've been in, right? That's not going to be okay with me. I'm not here to play in this matrix anymore. I'm here to either rewrite it or destroy it, right? So you have a lot of people that are waiting for certain circumstance, like a politician be placed back into office, and that's a start maybe, but that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something huge, right? Where humanity will unite as one, and we can rise up and take our sovereignty back from the people that've stolen it from us, right? And the only way we do that is by healing ourselves and becoming powerful again, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're leaders, we're not followers. And it's a hard process when we've been taught to be followers most of our lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
So learning how to lead and be humble is important, and that's why a lot of us are where we're sitting, right? Is that I'm not here for money, right? If I was here for money, I'm in the wrong business. Yeah, I gave up everything to do what I'm doing, right? I walked away from a world that people dreamed of because I couldn't bear it anymore. Money made me miserable. The power of it all made me miserable, right? For a long time, you feel money gives you power, but that's not the power that we as humans are supposed to have, right? The power that we all have is the ability to love.
Exactly.
Right? And that's what's going to get us out of this. And, I don't know how that happens or when that happens, but I suspect something big has to happen. I don't know if it's a dark night of the soul for the world, where we all are taken to a breaking point and we start off fresh again, right? I don't know.
Maybe that's what they mean by the 10 days of darkness, is the 10 days of the darkness of the soul.
I think that, and a lot of people hate to think that we might go into a dark space like that. My ayahuasca experience is a perfect example of it, right? Like, is it a fun thing to go do? No, it was absolutely horrible. It was, but at the same time, it was the most loving and healing thing that I've ever done, right? So we're here for an experience, right? And the experience isn't supposed to be easy, right? Everybody just wants to go, okay, we win, right? But how does that look? Like half the people on this planet would think they're losing, right? The way that we sit today is that half would be losing, right? And I don't want a world where half the people felt like they lost, right? Because then all you're doing is changing energy, right?
Exactly.
So I don't know what it is or how it looks, right? But something very big has to happen. Now, we know that the elite want to manufacture an experience that might make us combine under their new rules, right?
Well, the queen did just die not too long ago, so that's a big event. Yeah,
there's a lot of big events happening, right?
But a lot of higher end people are starting to step down. So that's
But as this keeps happening, man, we're the collective is rising, right?
And us raising our vibrations.
As the collective is rising, we're going to be dealing with these periods that we struggle, right? Because we're transmuting the energies of so many on this earth, right? And a lot of people that are empaths, that's what we're doing. And a lot of people don't realize that that's what's happening, is that you're actually here to help the rest of humanity rise up. Just by being here, right?
By healing yourself, you raise your frequency, you raise your vibration, which then also attracts that new world energy. And that's
Not sure how this all plays out. I'm excited.
We are too.
Hopefully it's sooner than later. But
It's going to be very exciting to see what happens in the next couple of months.
Elon's actually releasing something tonight, I think.
Oh, that's awesome.
We know.
Let that sink in.
That's so significant, and something has to occur, right? Like, you can't just ignore that.
When I was in meditation, I was given the date December 13th. But I don't know. They didn't tell me what.
They didn't tell you what?
They didn't tell me what. No, so waiting to see what that means.
Yeah, the week is that. The Tuesday.
That's next week, I believe.
The Tuesday?
Yeah, Tuesday. Next Tuesday.
So we'll see.
Oof. What's kind of funny is that my healing process, like my ascension process, has come to a halt at the moment. And I've come to realize the reason why that mine has come to a halt is because Candy here is finally starting to catch up. Where I go, she goes. Where she goes, I go. And if I am like way up here and she's like, still learning down here, I have to wait. So I'm like waiting at the door, nothing happening. I can't meditate. I can't see anything. My gifts are like squat. And she's like, I'm coming. Slowly, but I'm coming. Bitch, hurry up.
That's my Sui over here. But she keeps the family fed with her 3D lifestyle, which so I give her grace on all that. But my job is to do God's work, and hers is to support me, which is a beautiful thing, right?
And her supporting you.
It revolves around the kids, so.
And we've got so many kids around us. We have 70 kids in the building here.
Did you say 70 or 7?
70. She has a daycare center here it's actually licensed for what, 82? 81. So she's been doing this for 30 years now. 30 years. Yeah. So she has been amazing with these kids. So her mission has actually been to protect these kids through the masking. She didn't put any of these kids in a mask during the whole ordeal. Yeah. Awesome. Which around here is unheard of. We're right outside of DC and in between Baltimore and Washington, and it's as dark as you can imagine, right? Her youngest daughter just went to community college. She wants to get into radiology, stenography, and she walked in tonight for a introduction to the class or to the program, and they immediately told her to put a mask on, and it was like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, at this point in the game, you guys are still pushing that? And then it's kind of sad because she came home and now she's second guessing if she even wants to go into the industry, right? Because the medical industry is still playing this game because they've buried themselves so deep in the lies, right, that they can't get out of it, right?
Yep.
Oh.
Yep. So true. What?
In the chat, they're mentioning about Christy Alley. They said, I'm still tripping out about Christy Alley. And I said, what's going on with Christy Alley? Well, she
That's
died.
right. Yeah, she
Died yesterday.
died yesterday, cancer.
I would say cool and amazing, but I don't know who Christy Ellie is, so it's like...
Oh, kid.
Kid.
Don't
Perfect
judge
name
me,
for you.
Susie.
Just Suey.
Huh?
Like, Suey? Suey, not
she-
Susie.
Oh.
Suey. Suey, right?
Look at that look.
He's like, what?
Yeah, Suey. S-U-E-Y.
See?
Oh, okay. I knew that.
That's
Yeah,
what they
me
do to
too.
call the pigs. Suey!
Yeah, well,
No, that's what they used to do.
when we first started calling her that, she got offended, but now she loves it, right?
Well, I love it. It's amazing.
She's here for big things.
Oh, yeah.
And
Most definitely.
I didn't love myself then.
Here, let's let her heal. Come on.
I don't need to heal. I didn't love myself at the time. So I just got all caught up in that, you call the pigs, and that's why people would say that. It was like calling me a pig, but he has helped heal me tremendously so that I no longer take those kinds of things personally, and it's actually a very endearing name, and I absolutely adore it now. So
That's
it's been quite the
beautiful.
process, but yeah.
And that's one thing we have to get. That's another way to heal. We have to heal is that, we give words so much power over us, right? That we, allow somebody else's words to destroy us, right? And we have to realize that somebody else can't have that power over us unless we give it to them, right?
Right. Absolutely.
What are you thinking, kid?
He's looking up Kirstie Alley.
Is he?
No, no.
That's her.
Oh, her. Okay. I know who she is.
Apparently, she was spreading a lot of truth, but I haven't really paid much attention to her.
I
But
haven't seen her in anything recently.
a lot of people said that she was actually more on our side than not.
There was...
Well, they're, it's, I've seen statements being passed around that a lot of the people are playing their parts, and even if they look evil, they're doing the white hat work because it's all part of the awakening. It's showing what the dark hats have been doing.
Yeah, but there's definitely no stopping what's coming. I mean, if we were not winning right now, things would not be as bright as they are, right? The lockdowns would have continued, and we would have been a lot more controlled than we are right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's a matter of literally playing out a movie so people see it. Everything's happening at Twitter, I guarantee you, was not figured out in the last 3 weeks that Elon has owned Twitter, right? This was a storyline where they placed him there, and you have a certain part of the population that loves Elon, right? And it wasn't typically the conservative population, right? It was more the people that were into Teslas and so forth, right? So what better person to have expose truths about what's going on than him, right? It's hard. Now they've vilified him, right, which exposes them even more, right?
Yeah. So the one that you, if you've seen it, you see the pictures of the original and then the actor.
Not the same, yeah.
And so at some point, even the truth of the original has to come out and be told because, and deception cannot be held back.
I pray that it all comes out. If not, then we're being lied to, right? The funniest one I saw was 2 days ago. It was Simon Cowell. Oh my goodness, that's not even the same guy at all.
Really?
Oh my lord! I was like, this guy does not look anything like Simon Cowell. See if you can pull a picture of him.
So, I have this, right?
Yeah.
A list of gods and goddesses of the Greeks.
What
Gods and goddesses.
What attaches you to the Greeks?
Well, I like to use this. And what's funny is that I was tapping into your name, Sui. And your name also comes from the planet Venus. And the planet Venus is also where the goddess Aphrodite lives. And I could see that you also have her energy, which you worked with the goddess Aphrodite. And the goddess Aphrodite is all about love and beauty. Why do you think that you love those kids so much? And you've gotten to the place to where you love yourself.
We've had a lot of. I had it shown to me in meditation early back when I was still in Florida. I'd asked, I don't know how, but my highest self told me to meditate twice a day and set my intentions to ask, who am I, who was I, who will I be? And I did it for months and months, and I finally received my first name, and it was Zeus. And I thought to myself, there you go.
Simon
Hey,
Cowell.
what is that?
That looks like Simon Cowell.
Mm-hmm. Look at the cut. Compare the pictures.
Yeah, they're not the same.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I don't know what that. Unless his one eye looks like it's drooping. Unless he has what's that called?
Stroke.
Bell's palsy.
Bell's palsy.
Bell's
or
palsy,
something.
yeah.
It definitely doesn't look healthy. So there is a Greek theme that revolves around us for sure. And I think that since we're soul family, that's a typical energy that revolves around all of us, right? And you know what's interesting is after I'd done all this, and I eventually received my last name, and I guess it's who I will be, and it was Alaxon, Alaxon. And I did a search, and it showed up in one place in a video game. It's called The Elder Scrolls. And it talks about a group of elves that
Elves?
Elves, yes. And their goal in life was to live a perfect life, and if you exceeded a perfect life, they called it a path to Alaxon, Alaxon. Which to me sounds like Ascension, right? And I'm sitting here and I'm meditating, I'm getting these names, I'm like, how is this possible, right? Like, there's no way you would get like the name Alaxon, Alaxon, right? Like, what is that? I've never heard that name before in my life, right? And to get to that point, to find it hidden in this little game called Elder Scrolls about elves, right? Which, a lot of people talk about at Gartha, which is the center of the earth, is where all of these mystical characters live, right? The elves and the unicorns and the giants and dragons and all of that, they say still reside there, right? Have you ever seen Admiral Byrd, his journals?
No.
Mm-mm.
Well, you can actually find him online. He was an admiral, and they said that he flew into the center of the earth and was there for a few weeks and lived with giants. Mm-hmm. And he wrote a journal discussing all of this. So it was up through Antarctica. He flew his plane and I guess went into the inside of the earth, right?
Yeah, by accident, wasn't it?
Yeah. But so, if you look at the Antarctica Treaty, no humans are allowed to go up there, right? So all eyes on Antarctica, it's about to happen, right? A lot of people think that when the poles shift, that will become unfrozen, right? And Atlantis might rise from there.
I have heard tidbits of what you were just saying. Reading a little bit here, a little bit there. Yeah.
Look it up. You can actually find his journals online. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, a lot of the former so-called presidents, even though that we know that they're not really presidents, have already been to the Antarctica. Mm-hmm. Remember Jason pulled up all those documents about that?
Yeah, I mean, he talks about Antarctica a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've also heard that there's 3 ships up there, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, and they're not the ships that we have been told about, right? That they're actually Galactic, right? And apparently there are still Anunnaki that are on board these ships, and when the ice melts, that they're going to wake up.
A lot of the sea beings are waking up and showing themselves.
Sea beings, like
the bigger beings in the sea.
Oh yeah.
They're starting to come up and show themselves a little bit more, and you could see them on TikToks. You could see them on little videos. Even sirens are coming out and showing themselves.
Some say that space is actually in through the ocean.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah. What's up is down and down is up, right?
I was looking at a picture and I thought it was very interesting. And you know how in the Bible it says, what do they call the top of the, it's at the tip of my tongue, the firmament.
Right.
So in this picture, I saw this right here.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. That's basically the plane that just keeps going out, right?
And there's a great big dome over the whole thing. So we have individual domes over the different places, and then a great big dome. And in this picture, there was the ocean above that.
Yeah, well, that's what the Bible tells you, right? Is it the water above?
Yeah, and I went, oh my gosh, so are we really under the ocean?
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot to be discovered, right? I mean, it's definitely a lot of questions that, flat Earth is at a lot of people like to argue about it, right? So it's one that I try to keep to myself.
It doesn't make any sense to argue with someone about it. Either you believe it or not, but you don't need to try to convince anyone else that's their journey.
And the thought is that we're actually, and this is one theory, is that we are under quarantine. That we live so sinfully here that the rest of the galaxy has put us under a firmament so that we don't escape.
That's an
So that
interesting concept.
we aren't spreading the sin that we have here elsewhere, right?
I don't. Does that really make sense, though? I mean, because look at Star Wars. Star Wars is outside of where we live, right? And I would say Darth Vader is no spring chicken. Nice. So.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Star Wars.
Oh, you haven't watched the movies?
No, I was never into the Galactics. Like I told you that before. Like I haven't actually. I watched some, but not enough to remember any of it. I probably should because there's something there for me. I'm sure.
You remember Darth Vader, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so he was caught up in all sorts of evil. And when I was talking to Kid, this is early on in our journey, and I said, so when you ascend, they're saying that there's going to be love. And he said, yes, but there's going to be everything else too. And I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, think about Star Wars, Star Trek, any sort of space movie where the beings are higher frequency, higher vibration. They're in different dimensions, right? They have more knowledge, but they still have
wars and battles and hate and it's been hidden in the rule of gravity. What goes up must come down, right? Well, how it is up, so it is down. How it is down, so it is up. So what's down here is still going to be up there, just in a different dimensional frequency way. Everything has their own 3D, 4D, 5D. So no matter how high that you go, the only love that you're going to find is within yourself.
You guys see that thing I shared with you guys? I don't know if you saw it in regards to two twins being in the womb.
Oh, yes, I read that.
That was a pretty interesting perspective, right? Like, as you're sitting in the womb and they're talking about what happens, after your afterbirth, right? And it's much like us. We're sitting here now going, a lot of people say, oh, when you die, you just end, right? But all it is a transition to something different, a different frequency, right? A different dimension or whatever. And hopefully every time that we move forward, it gets better, right?
Maybe we'll be eaten out of an umbilical cord again after a while. After this birth. Right now we're in the birthing canal.
Well, I think we are to a degree, right? We're going through birthing pains, right? We're transitioning from 3D to a lighter frequency, right? So we're shedding off all the shit that doesn't serve us so that we can move into a place of love and abundance, right?
So I was vaping for about 10 years. And 2 days ago was my fifth week clean of vaping. And ever since I've been getting clean off the vape, I've been coughing and all this phlegm is coming up. And it's just, that's why I had to excuse myself so I can go cough up some phlegm. We have to get rid of all of these, like what you said earlier, all of these poisons and whatever else that's within our bodies to be able to ascend higher. And my body's just, going through its, you could say, menopause? Spiritual menopause?
Yeah, you're purging, right? And a lot of times when we purge, it exhibits itself as like a flu or a cold or whatever, right? And actually it's toxins that are coming out, right? Now, that's when you do ayahuasca, you purge, right? And this is interesting, is that when you do ayahuasca, you get to this point where you get so sick to your stomach, but it won't release it, and you're just sitting there like, and what it actually is an emotion or a trauma or something that's within you that you having a hard time moving past. And once you actually bust through that barrier, you throw up, right? And they were like, pay attention to the feeling that you get when you throw up, right? Because that's typically what you're purging, right? Whatever that trauma might be. And I remember when I threw up, he was amazed at the amount of what came out of me, right? And I remember when it had been building and building and building for an hour, and I was like, oh my God, man. And they kept going, oh, we have a mountain here. And at the time, I was like, I didn't understand what that meant, but what it was is I had such an ego that I wasn't allowing myself to let it go, right? So the next thing you know, I'm sitting here and I start to projectile into this trash can, and I'm like, get the fuck out. Just get the fuck out. And that's all that I thought. And it was and then I started to growl like a lion, and it was the most empowering, I don't know if it was an entity or what it was, right? But I had a trash can filled that much, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was something else. And
I wouldn't doubt it.
what's that?
I said I would not doubt it. I would not
Yeah,
doubt
so I
that
don't
was
know what
another
it
entity.
was, but it felt good to get rid of it.
Did the stuff in the trash can growl?
I don't know. He ran off with it, thank God. The funny thing is, he asked me to come help them do a ceremony, and I'm like, do I got to do that? 'Cause that's not really my idea of fun, right? But at some point, I got to get down there and help them. They say that actually helping administer it and is actually just as healing as doing it yourself, right?
Only after you've done it.
I don't know. They just said sometimes just going there and you don't actually have to partake in the medicine to get the healing effect of it, because you're watching other people move through their problems, right? And it's that whole energetic feel, right? I started to chant like an Indian, and I've never done that before in my life, right? I don't know where that came from, and then me and another guy just started to hold space that way. It was a beautiful thing, right? And it made me realize how ancient our DNA really is. It's in our first rodeo, right?
It's true.
I'm still stuck on that trash can. And I was thinking, if that thing started to shape-shift and morph.
Kid, have you ever thought about doing ayahuasca?
Yes. I've always thought that I've always wanted to try it, but never had the guts to actually do it.
But they say it'll come find you when it's your time, if it's your time, right?
Was that life-changing?
Oh, I can tell you, that's Sue. When I went away, we broke up a year before I did ayahuasca, and it was when I left here, I was lost, right? I didn't have her, and I was basically homeless and just hit the road and went and to see where God would take me, right? And it took me on this path of healing, and at the end of this year journey was this ayahuasca experience that I had always wanted to do ayahuasca, and I had actually planned to go to Ecuador, and I had a river guide that was going to take me up the river and leave me with a tribe, and that was back in January of 2020, and my highest self told me it was not a good time to go because of what was coming, right? And that was the lockdowns, and I didn't want to be locked down in another country, right? So I was going to be left there, and in my mind, I thought I was going to be a shaman, right? And then I would start, spend 6 months living with this tribe, and they would teach me, all about it. And after my ayahuasca experience, I was very glad that I didn't do that, because it's not something I wanted to do a lot of times, right? some people need it, right? Like and it all comes down to your releasing your ego, right? Where you allow yourself just to surrender to the medicine. And you know, the first night I didn't, and it wasn't that amazing, right? It was cool, but it wasn't amazing. But the second night, I literally meditated into it and was like, I surrender. You know, do whatever you need to do to fix me, right? And she did. And I literally saw my brain twist and zap. And it was like my world reset at that moment. I don't know how to explain it. I mean, how can you explain the difference between me and
You know, it's hard to explain. I mean, because we were both different people when you came back, but I don't know. It's like you found yourself, like you knew who you were. And you're right. I think that ego piece is a big piece. That he lost that and just, I don't know, it was like he was always a confident person, but the confidence was different. It wasn't ego. And I mean, ego can go both ways, but it wasn't that ego anymore. It was, I mean, you could just, God, again, I know Zach's talked about it, but it's not like God wasn't something that he ever, you know, really talked about and was really a big piece in his life. But when he came back, it was that statement of, I just gave myself over to God and said, you know, just protect my family and lead me where I need to go. And I mean, the story of him coming back to Maryland is just, you know, an amazing one where he didn't know what he was coming back to. There was no promise of us, you know, he was trying to make amends with his kids, and he just came back literally with just an open heart that I just think he was so closed off, I think, prior to that, because he was just dealing with different things, and it was amazing. I mean, it literally, I think he's probably touched on it, but from the moment we were with each other again, it was truly magical and healing and just a beautiful experience that I wish everyone could experience. I mean, it was crazy.
I mean, like we were talking about earlier, it's like I went for a year and I was either going to drive off a cliff somewhere or find myself. That was pretty much my option. Like, go figure your shit out, Zach, right? And it was a journey that, it was actually kind of funny because my dad had offered me when I was 22, he'd seen that I was struggling to find myself, and he had offered me $10,000 to hike the Appalachian Trail by myself.
Wow.
And I was scared shitless. I was like, there's no way I'll do that, right? And it wasn't until years later that I realized what he had offered me, right? And it was a journey to find myself. So this goes back to that story of, if you take somebody's karma now, you'll have to learn it later, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up going on this beautifully difficult journey, and along the way I was able to create the 17 group that I had on Facebook that ended up changing the lives of many, right? We had 80,000 members by the time, within a 2 or 3 month period before it was closed down. And it woke up a lot of people, right? And I wouldn't have been able to do that if I were at home with her, because she was dead asleep, right? And she thought I had gone nuts. So God pushed me out of my nest, sent me on my way, and put me to work, right? And I didn't realize it, I wasn't listening to God at the time. I didn't have a relationship with God, and my spirituality was weak, right? I can tell you that experience with ayahuasca put me in touch with God and put me on my path to where I am now, right? Like, I probably don't speak as eloquently about healing as a lot of people that have been in this industry. Like, you guys are healers, right? I'm not a professional healer. I don't do it by trade. I do it by the lessons I've learned, right? And wanting desperately to help other people, because I don't want anyone to struggle like I did. It was lonely, it was sad, it was painful. I hurt too many people. I used too many people, and had a lot of bad relationships, right? And when she sent me away, it had to happen for two reasons. One, she ended up getting in another relationship that was an unhealthy one, and it allowed her to relate to what I had gone through with my ex-wife. And I had been in a very unhealthy relationship, and she could never understand why I allowed somebody to treat me this way, right? So she went through this awful but beautiful experience of learning from somebody that was a narcissist and abused her, right? And controlled her and did all that stuff, but it had to happen so that she could now go, okay, I see what happened with you, right?
Become relatable.
I understand now that you it can happen, right? It's not like you made it happen or wanted it to happen. These people connive you into the little corner, and you end up, alone, right? And then they just poke you and prod you and steal from you and leave you empty, right? So her journey was going on and my journey was going on, and it just so happened, when I asked God the one day, I said, I surrender myself to you, and you can use me any way that you need to. All I ask for you to do is take care of my family, right? And within 2 weeks, I was sent back to Maryland, and I didn't even know why. And this was during full lockdowns, right? And it wasn't long after that the Jibbity Jabbity came out. And I realized that I had asked God to help me take care of my family, and the way that he did that was by sending me back here. And he sent me here just in time to speak the truth to Sue and her kids and my kids, right? And to protect them from making that mistake, right? If I hadn't come back, I don't know. I would say more than likely all of them would have accepted it, right? So God, I don't know if is going to ever do anything for us, right? I think he, or it, or whatever you want to call God, is going to empower us to do it for ourselves, right? And I didn't realize it for a long time. That's exactly what had happened. Because I was finally listening to the messages in my head, and I went into it and I said, whatever I hear, I'm just going to follow it no matter if it feels wrong, right? Because for so long, I've been using my mind and I'm making all these decisions, and it's always wrong, right? Even though I tell myself it's going to be right this time, or I spent all this time, looking into the future and looking at every option that could possibly happen, right? Instead of allowing it to unfold and trusting that, my highest self had this storyline planned out for me that was going to be perfect no matter what, right? It's when we use our ego and we start to try to direct this story that we end up teaching ourselves some difficult lessons, right? We don't trust that it's this beautiful story, right? Whether it be his story or her story, right? We are all here to learn how to surrender to this beautiful experience, right? The more you try to control it, the worse it is. Right?
Can't control the uncontrollable, but you can control what you can.
So
it's really
once I
beautiful.
surrendered, I was brought back here, and the minute we touched, it was like she healed. Don't know how to explain it. She still wants, how do you explain it?
I don't even know how to explain it. It just, I don't know, just something like came over me. Like it was just, I don't know. I truly just felt like you healed me. It's so hard to explain. I don't know. When he came back, there were certainly no thought process of mine that we were going to get back together. I thought we would be friends and that would be great.
I never thought we would get back together because she
was asleep.
Well, she was asleep and she had never done any work to try to learn, and she never took interest in anything that I was talking about. And I sat there for a long time. I said, well, you know, she's going to have to expose herself. She's still sleeping. There's no way that, like, she gets all of this now. And
finally was in a place to listen to you, I think. Like, I just wasn't in a place to listen before. Like, he just, you know, it was everything that he talked about. I didn't understand it. It didn't make sense to me. It wasn't concrete. So it was just hard. So when he came back, I don't know, you just had a whole different way of explaining it. And he just has a gift, I feel like, in just speaking in a manner where everyone can really understand it and doesn't try to overcomplicate things. And it's just, I don't know. I mean, we had so many conversations and it would get so frustrating. I just remember one day going, is that even a tree? Is that a tree? Like, what is real? Like, and I'm pretty sure that's what he did when I said that. He giggled because he was like, okay, now she's starting to get it. Now she's starting to question everything around us.
But the one thing I'll never forget is I asked her, I said, how is it that you know all, or how do you believe all of this stuff, right? You know, you haven't researched it. And she said to me, she goes, I trust you.
Well,
100%.
When you healed, Zach, and you came back, that dissolved the veil in Sue.
Well, it kind of like the vision that I was seeing while they were explaining their stories, that two balls of tar that just went two separate ways. One, yours kind of just, you know, broke, and then the amazing pearl showed itself, and then you came into her experience, which then shattered hers, and two amazing pearls.
Yeah,
that's the way that I saw it.
Yeah, it's humbling to me because it was something I've always looked for, but it wasn't until I realized that I was the one that was the cause of it not ever happening, right? With her, I was never 100% available. I was always, I worked on the road a lot at the time, and she just wanted me to be here, right? And I was trying to provide for the family, so I was absently not here thinking that I was doing what was right? In actuality, all she wanted was for me to be here, right? But I was going through an awakening, and every time I was here, it was like I wanted to get out of here because everybody's looking at me like I was nuts, right? Like,
it was not an easy road for him at all.
That's a difficult experience, right?
It still isn't.
No,
an easy road.
It's not easy for any of us, right?
But
now I like to see it, if they're not looking at me strange, and if they're not attacking me, then I'm doing something wrong.
That's right. You're not pushing the buttons right. I hope that we get to a point where we can have enough free speech that we can actually start to wake people up again. You know, it's frustrating. I've learned to play the game on social media, but I don't say what I want to say. And, you know, because it doesn't do me any good to have my account wiped out every week, right? You know, there's a lot of people that are doing that, and it's fine, but you know, my goal is not to wake people up to the 3D matrix. My goal is to wake people up to themselves, right? Like,
Very true.
is to teach people to heal, right? And the amount of messages that I get is what keeps me going. That's my currency, right? It's the energy that I get when people say, hey, thank you, right? And as we progress in this consciousness, I think we're all realizing that's what our focus should be on, right? Because every time I start to focus on this 3D news, like, I don't feel good, right? It's almost like I get nauseated. you know, and it's and I struggle to, you know, most of the time I can stay out of it, but then when you have something like the Twitter thing come along, it's like, I gotta expose it, right? But that's all that trap of jumping back into it, right? And then you get taught that lesson again where you know, you get smacked around a little bit. And that's where I've been the last week or so. So getting back to being a good guy, I guess.
Well, the more that they're breaking down the veils, the stronger everything else is going to be getting. And everyone's on their tippy toes right now. And when we're all on our tippy toes, guess what? We're all in our fighting mode. So...
I gotta stay away from it, though. It's not healthy. That's what they want us to do, right? Is the exposure is going to happen on its own at this point. You know, and that's one thing. During the ayahuasca that I learned was not to attach yourself to it all, and you don't need to know everything.
Exactly.
And I see all these people that are, following the new guy every day. It's part of their journey, right? Because every time that date comes and goes, then they realize that that God is in control of all this, right? Every time that date comes and goes, they go meow, and then they get to the bottom, and it's either give up or realize that God wins, right? God always wins.
Well, haven't you noticed whenever everyone's talking about a certain event, it doesn't happen. But as soon as it quiets down and no one's talking about it anymore,
nothing happens.
Boom! There it goes. It's like everyone stopped talking about the queen dying, and then suddenly the queen's dead.
Yeah, there's always there's definitely, that's for sure. There's always a lull before something significant happens, and everybody's like, oh. And it just seems so quiet, but it's that the quiet before the storm, right? Where all of a sudden everything hits the fan.
Yep. So I think that we need to all go into our silent mode. Stop talking. And then things will start happening.
Probably true, though. I mean, that's humanity has to let go, right? We have to, it's like that. Being in the birthing canal, like when you're sitting there getting squeezed through this little tiny hole that you're not supposed to get squeezed through it, you're under a lot of pressure, right? You'll probably feel like you're gonna die, and then next thing you know, you out to this brand new dimension, and you're forced to breathe, right? Where you weren't, you were somewhere where you didn't have to breathe. You were about to be born again, right? That's what they talk about in the Bible. What that looks like, I don't know. I'm glad you quit that stuff. That vaping's awful for you.
Well, now I have to just deal with this cough.
It'll work itself through.
Yeah, it definitely will.
That's what came to me when you were talking about that. I'm like, oh, you're not just waiting for me. You're busy healing, too, while you're waiting for me.
You're holding her back now.
So you are busy.
Yeah, I am busy.
Very.
It's kind of funny. My cough gets so bad to where I'm, like, gagging, and I'm like, bleh! And I just go right back to, talking whatever I was talking about.
I had that happen at the beginning of the year. I had, I don't know what it was, but over a 4-month period, every 2 weeks I got some strange cough that wouldn't stop, right? Then it would last 2 weeks, then it would stop 2 weeks, and it would start 2 weeks. And
We did the chakra clearing too, which...
Oh, it did shock. I mean, and I think a lot of it is, healing, right? We're letting go of some of the stuff that's in us. It's trauma, and it presents itself as sickness, right?
Yep.
That's a cool map behind you, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
Where'd that come from?
funding. But all this healing needs to happen with all of us and all three levels of the physical, the mental, and the spiritual aspects. So mine right now is the physical aspect.
That's not fun either, right?
No.
But they, as the energies keep rising, you got to get your bodies healthy, right? Like, because the ones that aren't healthy are falling to the wayside because they're not going to manage the radiation that's coming in, right? And a lot of the coughing, I suspect, is probably from the radiation, the higher light frequencies, right? I mean, light is radiation.
Well, it could also be the technology of how they made the vape, too. You never know.
Well, I'm sure there's... remember, Mr. T banned it. What would he... the Chinese version, I guess, because he banned it coming in from there because I guess they were poisoning us.
A lot of the vapes actually, they were putting a oil within it, and you had to be very careful on which juices to buy for the vape
crystallization
had the oil, and that would cause a crystallization of the lungs, and it was killing people.
Mm-hmm. See, I noticed that I have a medical marijuana license, and I remember back in the day I used to smoke the vapes, and I had a constant nagging cough from that too. And it stopped as soon as I started to smoke flower again. So it's the oil, I think, is not great for your lungs, right?
Yeah, it's not good for the lungs with the oil. Mm-mm.
And so who knows, you could have even gotten some of that without knowing.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, because, got a lot of people counterfeiting too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Really don't know what you're buying. It's good that you quit.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy that I quit. Feels good that I quit.
You get urges?
Urges? No. No. I calm those so-called urges with Hape.
With what?
Hape?
Oh, yeah? How do you like that?
The Hape.
How do you like doing that?
It's amazing. It brings me right deep into meditation immediately. And
Does it make you gag?
Not at all.
Doesn't
Well,
hurt?
it could, depending upon how much that you take. And we take small doses.
Very small.
I'm thinking of taking a really big dose to see what happens. Just to try.
Yeah.
Okay, then. We'll report that back to you guys.
When I did ayahuasca, they were talking about that, and they said they utilize it to ground themselves, I guess. But they were doing doses where they were ended up throwing up in a trash can, right? And I'm like, that doesn't look like a lot of fun. But
when you were talking about the ayahuasca and how it worked with you and what other people were saying that it does for them, these are like little mini sessions. That's what it feels like to me.
right.
Because I feel that that emotion in my stomach, and it allows me to work through that. And I also am getting amazing visions, and being shown a lot of different things.
So Hape is what? Cocoa and tobacco?
It really depends upon what type of herbs that they use, but the main ingredient is tobacco. But you don't smoke it, you don't sniff it, you snuff it, meaning that you push it up into your sinuses.
So it's raw plant, just like taking herbs.
How often do you do that?
Some people do it once a week. Some people do it 3 times a week. I do it on a daily basis because it's helping also with my cough, and it's also helping with a lot of different urges as well.
I'm noticing that it's bringing healing to my sinuses and the female aspect of myself down there, and which surprised me. So if that's healing and this is healing, then everything in between is healing as well.
Makes sense. Hey, kid.
Hey, what?
Yeah, I was asked to partake in a healing session. I said we'd do something together.
Wait, are you
Live?
No, we'll do. You could go on a journey. What do you think?
Oh, like an ayahuasca? That'd be fun. I'd probably be
Maybe
barfing
I'll
nonstop.
partake in helping you with the healing aspect of it.
You know,
Wait,
just the smell of everybody else's barf would make me barf.
You already smell anything when you're
So-
in it. You're not thinking like that at all.
Zach, what are you asking?
If he wants to do an ayahuasca journey,
With you?
not with me, with my, actually, this is part of the I think we got cut off last time. When we were talking about the visions I had when I was showing that we were getting married. We had a bird in the house. You remember that story? Did that ever come out? I don't remember. I think that might have been where it was getting cut off.
Yeah, I remember that live. But
Yeah, so one morning we woke up and there was a bird in our kitchen, which there was no windows open, and there was a cat, or our cat had pinned a bird up against the bay window on the inside of the house. So we heard a big bang, and we walked out and saw this bird pinned up against glass, and Sue walked over, and I was like, we got to get it out. So she grabbed a towel. I took a picture, and she wrapped the bird up in the towel and put it outside. And she went into work, and I started, we have 2.5 acres here, and so I went out and I started to cut the grass, and put the picture on Facebook and hadn't thought anything about it, and went out and started cutting the lawn. I was on a mower, and I blacked out in like a vision is all I can say, right? And I saw us getting married on the beach, and just so happened we were going to Florida the next month, and I was like, oh my God, I literally saw us getting married. And I saw the people that married us, and I was like, I'm not sure what that was about, but it was the 2 people that administered the ayahuasca for me. So I walked into the office, and Sue was sitting right here in this chair. Well, actually, it was a different chair at the time. And I said, I don't know what just happened, but I think I'm supposed to get married. Or we're supposed to get married. And she goes, is that a proposal? And I go, I don't know. And I said, we'll talk about it later. And I walked back into the house and looked at my post, and somebody wrote on the comment, there's got to be a spiritual meaning behind a bird in your house. And
Kid will like this part.
yeah, you'll like this part. And I go, okay. So I looked up, it was a sparrow. Was it a sparrow?
Sparrow.
Yeah, it was a sparrow. And I looked up sparrow in the house, meaning. And it said this, and then you'll get a kick out of this because it goes right back to what we were talking about earlier, and this is synchronicity. And knowing who I was told was Zeus, right? The thing said that Aphrodite leaves a sparrow in your house, and it's a sign that good fortunes are to come and that a wedding will soon follow.
Wow.
Yeah, and I said, you gotta be fucking kidding me, right? Like, there's no way this is true, right? So I'm like, all right, we're getting married. Like, there's no doubt. God's showing us getting married. And so I remember I called up the two that administer the ayahuasca, and I asked them, and it was like I saw them marrying me and her, and I was like so nervous to ask them. I said they've never done a marriage before, so it was new to them, and I said, I want you to know I saw you guys in a vision marrying us, and then I asked them, I said, will you do the honor of marrying us? And I was so nervous because if they had said no, my vision was totally wrong, right? But they said absolutely, and we ended up getting married, and we that day it was 3 days before I had one of our Day of Being gatherings down in Florida, and it rained all day long, like rain. We had a company come out and put a little arbor out on the beach and like 20 chairs. We had our girls all with us, and it was like a last minute wedding plan. So we were eventually like, all right, it's not going to stop raining, so we might as well just go out there and do it. And we all walk out. The second we walked outside, it stopped raining. We walked out onto the beach, and all of a sudden, right behind us, as we were getting married, the sun dropped down and gave us a beautiful sunset. And then on the other end of the beach was a rainbow.
Wow.
And we're like, there's no way this wasn't God giving us that little head nod, right? It was. We got pictures of it all to prove it. Yeah, and it seems like rainbows have been part of my whole journey, because when I was out in Oklahoma, when I was with my ex, right before I came back here, I was shown with a black cat running across the road, and then I looked over to the left, and out in the field was a sign that says Jesus saves, and then I looked back over to the right, and there was 2 rainbows. And I was like, wow, that's a sign. And I got the pictures, and that was on the 20th of June, I think it was.
That's when the girls called you.
Yeah, June 20th. I just saw the memory come up, and it was a double rainbow. And then when I got back to Maryland, and the first minute that I saw my girls, there was a double rainbow on June 25th. And I was like, I'm definitely following the right path here. And it's like, between that, and then there's something about trains, too. Everywhere I go, there's trains. I hear trains. It's like I'm on this weird magical journey of trains, right? And I think that there's something about. I think we're all time travelers, and I think that there's this common theme about trains in my life, at any rate, that I've followed, and it's been quite amazing. I got actually a pretty cool story about I rented this place and checked into it at about 11 o'clock at night. And it was out in the middle of the woods in Seattle. And I checked into this place, and I decided I was going to do magic mushrooms. And I eat this dose of magic mushrooms, and the next thing you know, the whole house starts to shake. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And I didn't really look at the listing on the Airbnb. Apparently this was like some amazing train house, like that people like rent, and it's rarely ever available. But for some reason it was available this night. This train track ran about 20 feet away from the house.
Wow. That's
And
close.
throughout the whole night, there were these commuter trains that would run by this place and shake the whole house. I'm sitting here on mushrooms, and it was like, what the hell is happening in my world, right? It was a quite experience. This world is a magical journey if you let go, right? Otherwise, if you don't let go, it can be tough, right? Daunting, and it's painful, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, the first and the last time that we've ever done mushrooms, she went in doing it with a worried mind. I went in doing it, being clear and happy and fun loving, and I come running into her room. You want to go for a walk with me? She's like, no, I can't leave. My face is falling off. So I go walking outside and I'm seeing the grid lines of the earth, and I'm like, ooh, I want to touch them, but there's people around them. It look like I'm crazy.
Yeah. It's the thing about mushrooms is that, and ayahuasca and all, even marijuana itself, is that they're all sacred plant medicines, right? And the problem is that people aren't taught how to use them, right? So you go into it and you're willy-nilly, and you're not setting your space, you're not setting your intentions, you're not protecting yourself, you're looking to use it as a party drug, right? So you end up getting into this experience, and it takes you wherever the hell it wants to take you, right? And a lot of times it'll make you uncomfortable, right? So that's why my offer, I know you're trying to get away from me, kid. I see you over there.
You should.
I think we should plan, dude, because I can tell you what, I see a lot of me and you, and I think that it could level you up like you never knew.
Well, we'll set it up for sure.
I'll be waiting for your phone call. I sent you guys some videos about it. Do you guys ever look at any of them?
I've asked a lot of questions with a lot of people that has been through it, so I know the basic steps, but going through the process, I haven't ever done that, so I'm willing to give that a try.
Yeah, man. The thing about it is that, it is a difficult experience, right? But I've never felt more unconditional love than that medicine gave me, right? It was brutal, but I was so empowered through it, right? Like I met my youngest self, and it was like I nurtured that younger aspect of me that had been hurt, right? That nobody else had wanted to or knew how to teach, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like I met that kid, and I was able to give myself a hug, and it was like that release of that alone feeling, right? That you all of a sudden I've realized that there are different aspects of us, right? There is a younger version of us, right? And a lot of it plays out in our relationship. Is it like I'm not a serious guy 99% of the time. 99% of the time I act like a little kid, right? And if you read the Bible, they say when you read the Bible, they say that when you're in heaven, that most people act like children, right? And it's because when you're a child, you discover, you're curious, you have an imagination, and through all our program, we've lost all that. We're dumbed down, and we think that we got to be mature and like I'm important, right? And that's a mask that we all have on it, and most people don't realize that they have it. But when you learn how to play again, and you learn to be jovial, and you joke around with each other, and you wrestle or you do whatever, right? It's liberating, right?
It really is.
That's why they call you kid.
Everyone.
Literally.
I would love to do that with you, though, man, because like these people are amazing. They're down there in Florida, so
yeah, that'd be fun. It'd be an amazing experience.
And the invitation goes for you too, Candy, if you want to do it.
Sure. Thank you.
They say that there's people that go down there that, or not there specifically, but that do ayahuasca that heals a lot of their sickness too, right? Like there's people that have cancer that will go do it and it will actually heal it, right? It's a lot of our sickness is actually trauma that we've locked into ourselves and we haven't let go.
Yeah.
Right. So we hold it, and all that resentment turns into negative energy, and that negative energy turns into something possibly fatal, right? So as we heal and we let this stuff go, hypothetically, we'll become younger, right?
I wonder what I would see. Because I've done heroin, I've done K, I've done G, I've done E, I've done, almost every drug in the book, and I've had many different visions. So it would be.
Those are all
really
man-made,
amazing.
though, man. It's not the same. But trust me, it's not the same. That's all man-made. This is coming from
A higher dimension.
from Mother Gaia, right? And I don't know if Mother Ayahuasca and Mother Gaia are the same thing, right? But it's like a grandmother feeling, right? There's another drug out there, or not drug, plant medicine is called iboga. And iboga is known as the grandfather drug. And it heals in a different way. You say it's a lot more difficult. It's like a 24-hour journey, and it kicks the shit out of you, right?
Wow.
And they utilize it for a lot of people that have heroin addiction, and they say that it will heal you, right? Ayahuasca that heals a lot of drug addictions as well. They utilize it a lot. I think who's that actress? Can't remember. The blonde one that was like a young actress back in the day, Disney.
And she did ayahuasca?
Lindsay Lohan. She claimed that she sobered up after she did ayahuasca.
Iboga.
Yeah, Iboga is Iboga. It's from Africa, and it apparently is tough.
You'll probably want to fast before you do that one, huh?
You
Well, you
want to
do-
fast before you do any type of ayahuasca.
Well, ayahuasca you want to also. That's what, like, you have to clean your diet up for like a month beforehand. But it was when I did ayahuasca, it was the first time that I ever felt energies flowing through my body, right? Like when I went in there, it aligned my chakras, and it was like, and I felt these energies, and it was unbelievable, right? And till today, I can feel the energies of people, right? I see it, and I know when healing's about to happen for the collective. It's like I have a finger on the pulse of the collective, right? And I understand what a lot of people are going through before they understand it, right?
Maybe that's the thing that's holding me back that I need is the ayahuasca, huh?
Well, I'm not going to make anybody do anything, right? Because, and the thing about ayahuasca is I wouldn't suggest it to you if I didn't think you were spiritually strong enough. Because if you're not spiritually strong enough, it will do more damage than good, right? Because if you're not awake and you go do ayahuasca, it's going to wake you up, and some people don't fare well from it, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a lot of things. If you go in with a full mind, a full cup, well, that cup is really just going to mess with you. But I've learned to be able to quiet my mind, empty my mind to where it's just nothing, and then go into a certain, well, it's going to be very interesting what I'm going to see with the ayahuasca when I do it.
Well, maybe July would be a good time.
July?
Because we do the gathering down there, like typically mid-July.
Sounds good.
And it's about an hour from where we do the gathering. And it's an amazing place there. It's called Indian Shores. It was actually, they claim that there's an Indian burial ground there that they found giants.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's the energy there is, it's got quartz crystal sand. It's like 99% quartz crystal. It's like baby powder, and the energy there is off the chart, man. Like,
Amazing.
it's amazing.
Wow.
Now, when I get down there, like here.
Yeah, we feel like we're in 5D.
Right, I'm in 5D there. When I come here, back here, it's like 1D.
Yeah, I've heard about those shores.
That's beautiful. But
Yeah.
there's a Stargate there. Stargate 2 is between there and Fort Myers. And it's actually where I had that contact was in Sarasota, which was south of there, is when I had the Galactic Federation contact me.
Mm,
Remember I told you about that?
I do.
That's all quartz crystal sand there too. So Stargate 1 is in Sedona. Stargate 2 is in Florida. Stargate 2 connects to where is it connected? Jerusalem.
That's what I thought.
Oh, interesting.
Very interesting.
Right.
Mm.
So I think there's something about that place that keeps drawing me to have these day of beings there. I don't know what it is yet, but
Well, yeah, I'm down for that in July, most definitely.
do it. I'll start making some calls. I don't know. I might partake too. You want to do it?
I can't sit here right now and say that I'm ready, but I feel definitely closer to that being an experience that would be good for me.
Well, you could just sit there and watch me go through it.
That's why I asked if you have to do that, if you assist other people, if you are able to get something from it, even if you haven't
Oh, you
actually
definitely get something.
participated in a ceremony before.
These people are amazing. Like she sings
Oh, that's
music
beautiful.
and he plays this steel drum that looks like a UFO and it sounds like galactic music. It's,
Oh, those.
Yeah.
they teach you how to breathe. They teach you how to meditate. They teach you mantras. They teach you. It is an amazing experience that literally changed my world. Right? They were put here for us, right? To help us heal. So
Awesome.
he brews it all, which so you know where it's coming from. It's not like something off the street. I don't know how anybody would ever do that on their own though. Like I know people that get the ayahuasca and sit around and do it. It doesn't. You need to have somebody there to help you, right?
Well, it also depends upon the person too. Some people can actually go through an ayahuasca by themselves and be just fine.
It just makes you wonder how much they're letting go.
Yeah, that's true too.
Because I can tell you when I let go, I wasn't here, man.
Well,
Somebody better be babysitting me.
I heard somebody talk about their ayahuasca experience, and it wasn't just upheavaling this way, but it was downheavaling that way too, and it just reeked.
Yeah, I bet.
We talked about people have had.
Yeah, they walk you to the bathroom, but yeah, I didn't have that issue, thank goodness. But it was like, you ever know when you get that verge of like throwing up and you know you're going to for a long, like half an hour, 45 minutes, it's like that. It's like, but it's this emotion that's trying to release itself out of you, and you're resisting it, right? Resisting, and finally you let it go, and it's like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like, holy Moses, thank God that's going, right?
Well, I can barf just fine, so I'm okay. If I feel it, and then I'm just off doing back what I was doing. And it
Yeah, you think that until you're
doesn't
there. I
faze
don't
me.
know, man. It's different. It was an amazing thing for me. But I think Spirit made me call you out for some reason. I don't know why. I looked at you and I was like, this turn.
Kid needs it. Yeah, sounds fun. it'll probably be a very great experience to open me up to a different way of seeing things. I love experiencing new things, so I'm down.
Oh, yeah. If you go into it with an open mind, man, it's probably easier. Mine was a lot of resistance, right? Because, like they said, that they had a big mountain there, and that was me. Right? My own ego wouldn't let me let it go, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, could it be a mixture of ego and pride?
Yeah, there's not much different to do, is there?
They're two really big, it's actually very different. Ego is more of a living being, and
Yeah.
pride is more of a shameful, is more like an action. And you let go of both. That's why you two both were able to get back together, because the pride just broke and your ego just left.
There's definitely something about having nothing that is freeing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Once you're in the world naked and seen, there's nowhere to go but up, right? And then it's all, how do you rebuild yourself at that point? Do you go back down the same shitty little road that you came from, or do you improve, right? Not choose to improve every day, right? I don't want to go back into that, right?
Well, that's very interesting. I mean, Kid and I have done a lot of inner work, and we have we've made that our main focus, because we can't do what we do for people without doing that inner work. And so with that in mind, doing an ayahuasca, that will be interesting in what else it can open up and reveal.
It opened a lot for me. I can tell you that. I can't even explain how much life has changed since then. It's indescribable. Like, it connected me with God. That's all I can tell you. Like, a direct line to God, right?
That would be nice, because sometimes I feel like I struggle with that.
Yeah. Indescribable. I don't know.
It's time for upgrades.
Yeah.
Ready, Sid?
Kid and I have actually been talking about that lately, the ayahuasca. So that's interesting that you brought that up.
Well, I think July would be perfect for that.
He has a way of knowing exactly what people need
Yeah,
well, I
it's
see you,
scary.
kid.
and leading them to it.
I see kid. He's there. He's ready.
Yeah, I'm ready.
We're our own worst enemies, right?
It's true. It's very true.
Like, we block ourselves from happiness. And it's like we talk about all the blocks in the world, but in actuality, it's our own mind that blocks us from being free, right? Then the real issue is, once you get free in your mind, now you gotta look around at everybody else that's not. Yeah, then you're like, oh.
Oh, well, we see that a lot. Kenny and I are walking through a store. We're like, well, that person's still asleep.
Yeah, well, there's different levels to this awakening, right?
Yep. Because somebody could be awake to the world events, but still be very much asleep to the spiritual happenings.
Yeah. But the thing is that we're all still asleep. We're literally, we're at that stage right now where we're in bed and we got sleep in our eyes and we're, waking up, right? And when we wake up and we figure out who we really are, this game's over, right?
Yeah. I think right now we're like sitting right in front of Morpheus looking at the two pills, red or blue.
Yeah. I mean, we're awake, but we're not. Right?
Exactly.
When I did the ayahuasca and I went to the other side, I wasn't prepared for it. Let's just say that.
I think I'm going to go into the ayahuasca with what you said. Just give it all.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, I think there's something to that, right? I went into it going, I just want to be healed. I'm done. I'm done being an asshole. I'm done being, you know, a letdown to myself and to others, right? I want to find me. And, you know, I think that when I said that, like, he warned me, don't do that, right? Or be careful what you wish for, right? But it was exactly what I wanted, right? Was that rude awakening that smacks you in the head, right? Where you don't need it again, right? you get what you need.
So in one of my meditations, it was interesting. I don't remember if I asked who I was or if someone said, let me show you something. But Apollo usually meets me.
Apollo?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think, if I were to guess correctly, he said, come with me, I want to show you something. And he brought me to a mirror. And this is what I saw.
It's an Arcturian.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's what I look like.
Yeah, well, I'm Arcturian too.
I'm cold.
I'm cold. Yeah, cold. You're Arcturian, yeah. That's why we're healed. Arcturians are the healers. They came here to help humanity heal. That would be why we're talking right now.
Mm. Yeah, so these are lately the kind of visions I'm having, the experiences when I meditate with Hape. It's really interesting.
I'm going to try that. How hard is it to get it up your nose? I know they got that little Y-shaped thing you can blow it up your own nose.
It's not hard at all. It's just doing a really quick.
Did it burn?
Sometimes, yeah. But only for a few moments. But after that, then comes like the lightheadedness, but it affects the whole body. When I'm connecting with the team, I'll connect with Zeus. I'll connect with the Lady of Light. I'll connect with the Arcturians, Apollo. My body will get real cold. And then other times...
Do you shiver up your side?
What's that?
There's sometimes when I get downloads, like literally down my sides, it's like a shiver. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, my whole side just rumbles. Like, but it's a cold sensation.
I don't get that on my sides, just everywhere. And then when there's healing happening, if I'm doing healing or healing's happening with me, then I heat up.
Hands get hot.
Everything gets hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole body. So I have more of the connection that goes on in meditations than I do the healing.
We'll try that. I know that they can get us that too.
So Kid can send you what we have and recommendations on what is a mild one and what is a strong one, and so that maybe you might want to get one of each.
Okay.
And he's gonna do it for you.
My personal favorite is the strongest one.
Surprise!
When we first got it, I'm like, ooh, it says the strongest. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get that one.
Were you like me? My motto used to be, I will try everything once. Literally, like, I wanted to try everything once, so I did.
So they even have things called the Sanaga drops. And
what is it? Sanaga?
Sanaga, I believe. And we got the strongest one, of course.
That was so.
They said you can dilute it, with distilled water or purified water. I went, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to try it full force. I'm like, put one drop in the eye. I'm like standing up, stomping my feet, crying. Oh my God, this is so painful. Wait, open up my other eye and put it in the other eye, and I'm stomping my feet. And I told her I had 3 surgeries on my eyes. Those needles being put into my eyes did not hurt as bad as putting Sanaga in my eyes. That was horrible.
That's what we call a lesson.
Oh my God.
I observed and then I diluted before I tried it.
What is it supposed to do for you?
It polishes the pituitary.
Where do you find that?
What's that?
Where do you find that?
At the same place you get the Hape. Kid will give you the link and everything. But the Hape assists in I want to say defragging, but it's decalcifying the pituitary.
It defrags. We're computer-based anyways.
And the Sanaga helps to polish that off.
Gotcha.
So I don't know if you can... What? Ooh.
They hungry?
It's just a powder.
Yeah. You put all that up your nose?
Oh no, I just put it onto my hand so you could see what it looks like.
Okay.
What do you need? You want the cup? This cup, it's dry.
It's okay. It's okay.
The reason why I didn't opt to do it that time is because it resembles a bit like what I used to have an issue with, and putting something up my nose wasn't a huge turn on for me, right?
Yeah.
There is a ritual involved with all that, right?
Yeah, that's why they call it the white powder of death. But I just put it into my straw and then put it inside.
Oh, God. Look fun.
So you're just...
My mouth is watering just watching him.
Mine too. Never done it. Looks fun.
I would. They say that the bullet is the strongest, but I've used some others that are just as strong, if not stronger.
You alright over there, kid?
I'm crying. It just hurts so bad.
You say it hurts?
No.
No.
But it does clear the sinuses, and what it does is it goes into these sinuses and these right here. So it's able to, if you keep it in there as long as possible, your body soaks up the
Tobacco?
the herbs. It like marinates.
In your skull.
It can feel like it goes behind the eyeball and all the way back here.
The back of the head.
It just
Give you a sense of calm or what?
It really depends upon
Sometimes.
which ones that you use. I usually use this the bullet in the morning to wake me up. And then I use the second strongest, which is the Bridger of Worlds, to connect. And then there is the spiritual purification that empties your soul realm. And
That's amazing.
that one right there just empties everything in the body. And you feel that clarity.
Okay, so we've been doing this for a couple weeks now, right?
Yep.
And I just used spiritual purification for the first time the other day, and I did not know that it emptied the realm. And I told him I had that experience, and he said, so this is what happened. He says, everything was just like, it popped down here and emptied out. And I went, whoa, that was amazing. So if I'm feeling tense and frustrated, I'll go to that one.
Fefe Jules, it's not snorting it, it's snuffing it. So you're pushing it up. You're not pushing it into the lungs.
Right.
When you sniff it into the lungs. This goes straight into the sinuses and only the sinuses.
And really, the puff is because you want to hit the right spot. And I'm sure
How long
it's
did it take you to get used to hitting the right spot? Quite a long
sometimes,
time.
you know how you're like, okay, I got to do this, but you're like resisting it because you know it's going to hurt like a mofo, right? So sometimes I'll do that and it'll prevent it from hitting the right spot, and I may have to do it again. So it's relaxing and surrendering to it too.
But it does make a lot of mucus.
Done
A lot of mucus.
My sinuses are feeling healthier.
It's true. Mine are too.
it.
Oh yeah, which is huge. Because I've been
Send me
working
the
at,
link. I'd like to check it out. And I'll
I hear a
send.
song coming on. I like it like that.
Oh, God. Give me a moment. There we go. That feels better.
Well, I hate to cut you guys short, but we got an early morning here.
Oh, yes. We've been live almost 3 hours. 2
Has it
hours
been
and
3 hours?
45 minutes.
Holy moly. So it's 2 hours.
No, this is a good time to go. I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm awake
All
now.
right, guys.
Is ready to go.
He's ready to go now.
Sui, it was so beautiful to meet you. Such an honor.
Well, thank you for letting me join on the second half here.
It was amazing. It really
and
was.
Zach, this was another epic show.
Yeah, well, we're here a while. Whenever you need me, let me know. I'll be around.
And Sui now knows where her name originates from, too.
Yep.
Knew it was something in the.
So if anyone ever says anything about your name, you're like, well, it's it's from the planet of the goddesses. So beat that, mofo.
Yeah, that's Skippy.
Mic drop.
Yeah. Look up the meaning of my name.
I will tap in and see.
All right.
Love you guys.
All right,
Love
thanks,
you guys.
guys.
Thank you, family, for joining us. Thank you, mods, for your hard work.
Oh, and just so everyone knows, we are having that promo with the Asea. So if you would like to, the promo is, well, how do you say the promo?
Qualified purchase.
With any new qualified purchase, you can either get a Renew 28, which is the gel, which is a very amazing, or you can get the Cell Performance Packs, which are the energy drinks, and the Asea supplements. And I'm hearing great things about the supplements, but I haven't tried them myself, but that's what I'm hearing from other people. So if you guys would like to know a little bit more about that, you guys can...
it's pinned.
Oh, it's pinned
the
on the
number,
YouTube? Okay,
yeah.
but it's also at the very top with the highvibesup.myasea.com.
Oh, right.
And then you could do the, what do you call that? The contact me. Be sure to put in your phone number so somebody can get a hold of you. Or you can call Jay directly and he'll be able to walk you through the process if you guys have any questions with that. All right.
You guys go ahead and pop off.
I love you guys.
Bye, guys. Love you.
Thank you, family.
Bye, guys.
Probably not going to want to hear this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Always go with the choice that scares you the most. Because it's the choice that's going to help you grow.
Wow.
I can't do negative today. Positive vibes, positive vibes.
Hey, best friend. Wait. To the person seeing this, I know you're tired. I know you're fed up and so close to breaking. But remember, you have strength within you even when you feel weak. Keep fighting, best friend.